The engineering department finds a way for Book to not be irradiated to death. Michael Burnham finds the one between the many. And Tilly is going to start a mentorship program at Starfleet Academy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Yeah.
The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode what? 10, the season and series finale entitled Life Itself, written by Kyle Jarrow and Michelle Paradise, that's the showrunner, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. Very special thanks to a couple pals that sponsored this episode. Their names are Kenneth Koo and our good buddy Bill Erickson, aka War Dogheim, out in Montana. Kenneth, thank you so much for waiting so long for this one. This guy, he wanted to sponsor this one like a year ago. He was like, whenever
Oh
the
yeah.
Discovery finale comes up, that's the one. He came up to us at Star Trek Las Vegas last year. He's been waiting forever. And War Dogheim, thank you to you as well for all the goodies you always send us. All right, this episode is for the two of
Nice.
you. Cirroc, how you doing?
I'm great. The name of this episode is Life Itself.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
So first things first, I think it's been 65 episodes. Um,
Okay.
Here's something interesting. Star Trek Discovery is the longest running Star Trek show ever.
That's
as far as
that's
as far as
there's an
time.
asterisk there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
as
an
far as
asterisk there though.
you were looking at me
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? I mean, it's because I saw something that said that it basically passed up the Next Generation for the longest running, like a month ago or something.
Really? How
So
many? It had to have been over 6 years.
yeah, well, it's been over 7 years. It was 2017 to 2024. And so Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, they were both 7 seasons. Voyager was 7 seasons, but it was condensed over like 6.5 years, you know.
Right.
Deep Space Nine was like 6 years or something. It was
Yeah.
really tight. It was like 93 to 99 or something.
That was condensed.
So anyway,
Wow, that's
longest
so
running.
obviously that's COVID, right? I mean, COVID has a big thing to do with that. That wouldn't be the case otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, and it has to do with the fact that TV has changed. Like we don't have one season every year. We have one season A whenever it's done. Hopefully this year, maybe next year, we don't have 26 episodes, one per week for half a year and then 26 weeks off. We have 10 to 15 episode seasons, and it takes a year and a half to do. I mean, Lower Decks has been able to consistently knock them out every single year. Uh, and Strange New Worlds is starting to do that as well. But Discovery, they had like season one was 2017, season two was like 2019, season three was like 2021. It's kind of every other year for a while there.
Yeah, they stretched it out. That's what they did. I mean, and then the irony is it's a 65 episodes versus like 170 something
Yeah.
for Next Generation and Deep Space Nine.
hmm But like we were talking about before we hit record, where does all the money go? Because this thing has a huge budget. You see it on the screen. Where does the time go? Where does the money go? Why does it take 18 months instead of 12 months? Because the VFX is unbelievable. The production design is unreal. The costumes, we're talking about the
Yeah.
costumes every week. The makeup is amazing. The music scoring is unreal. I mean, you see it on the screen. You know where that time and money goes. Star Trek Discovery is and was the most beautiful Star Trek series ever. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's the set you want to steal from. Uh, they got high budget stuff going on. They got good costumes and stuff you can actually wear out at
They
night
might have
sometimes.
tight security though, so
I'm
because
sure
that
they
stuff's
do. I'm sure they
expensive.
do. Except for maybe this last episode, I'm sure people got away with some kind of deal because all these actors have been well versed on, keeping mementos and making the most of this kind of opportunity. So I'm sure as many people as they could, did that, and I'm glad for that.
Hmm.
Um, but you know what?
Yeah.
You mentioned the director o- Olatunde,
Yeah.
and he's been the predominantly most prolific director of this new stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
No doubt about it. I mean, he and Jonathan Frakes, obviously Jonathan Frakes has something to say about that, but
Yeah, but I mean, Jonathan has a longer time span. I'm just talking about in the since Discovery has aired and the new batch of Star Trek has come out, he has to be on the top of most episodes directed with it since 2017.
yeah, he has directed 13 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. So he's definitely their go-to guy. That's 20% of the episodes, exactly.
Right.
He's directed 2 episodes of Star Trek Short Treks. He is directing the Section 31 movie that's coming up. And he's going to be in some way we know affiliated with, Starfleet Academy. I thought he had also directed or produced.
Picard, right? No,
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm not
or
seeing
or
it.
or, or Strange New Worlds, but I thought he was did some kind of crossover work too as
Me
well.
too. Me too, but I'm not seeing it. But I thought so.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well, at least for this show, he's definitely the one of the main reasons why all of those visual effect dollars that we're seeing actually gets captured and put on the screen because he's doing a lot of capturing and putting on that screen and kind of taking advantage of the set that they've built for this show. And I think he had did a fantastic job in this particular episode with that VR wall. Um, let's
this
see
dude
him.
looks this dude looks like he's 21 years old. How is he?
Yeah,
Man, how does this guy been directing, 13 episodes and he's like the most prolific Star Trek Discovery director and he looks like that guy just got out of college.
he
Amazing.
looks young, but he definitely has the eye for it. And
Hmm.
I wanted to give this time a little bit of time to take our hat off to the work that he's done for this show over the years. I think visually, I was very satisfied with the way he used the set that they had and the fighting scenes, the way they were choreographed. I thought were really, Matrix looking or, uh, you know, DiCaprio had a movie about dreams. That was interesting. I forgot the name of that movie, but anyways,
Me too.
there were some aspects of this fight scene and the way they were defying gravity essentially and walking on walls. I thought it looked fantastic, and I just wanted to give Olatunde his just deserves, killing it.
Yes. Now he's also directed, like I said, a couple episodes of short treks. Why is that important? Well, because the second episode of short treks was called Calypso. And what Calypso was it took place. I mean, well, I saw this back in 2017 when it first came out. So forgive me if I don't remember the details. But there's a guy named Kraft who wakes up on a ship and the ship is talking to him, and the ship is called Zora. And we now know, and it was
Mm-hmm.
way in the future. We now know that this was Star Trek Discovery, or this was USS Discovery. Zora is the AI intelligence that is the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, with the added tag, the added footage that they went back and shot when Michael Burnham is aged, she says she's going on a new mission to find
Yeah.
someone or something called Craft. And so now we know her last mission was to find Kraft, and we know presumably she must die on that mission, or there's something that happens, because in the short treks, which takes place like either that century or the next century, but sometime in the next 100 years, he wakes up and there is Discovery there, and Michael Burnham is not there. So who knows what the story is, but at least it's connected. So I just wanted to point that out to you, because I don't know if you'd seen those short treks, but that was a fun thing they added.
Wow. If you're looking for Robert Kraft, he's probably at a massage parlor somewhere.
Basketball humor.
Or a little football humor, actually. He's the
you're
Patriots
right.
owner.
Right, Patriots, yeah.
But yeah, I like I said, back to the kind of director choices that he made, I thought this was great. There was like this set, the progenitors, whatever, homeworld, I don't know what you would call it. Is it the
something like that, or at least where
right?
they are,
progenitor, yeah, or wherever they are, or the inside the progenitors device. Inside of that thing. Yeah, so I thought that was also creatively done too, with the way the flowers were laid out, the way the lighting was, the floor designs, just, I mean, these are all details obviously that go into the set design, but I think that, obviously the director has a lot to say when they come sit down and kind of game plan these things. We know that from our experience of watching directors go through these kinds of meetings, that they game plan what they want to see. And so all of that, kind of what we saw in the progenitor world, was game planned. The lighting I thought was fantastic. The idea that the gravity wasn't functioning the same. I like the shot of the aerial view over the mountains, kind of like where if you took the wrong step, you might, fall into some planet surface. All of those things were very creative to me, and I thought it was well done. It gave the sense of maximizing the AR wall and the space, given to generate this. I thought they did a perfect job with it.
Yeah, I mean that AR wall was nuts. I mean, watching that place, what I wanted to call it, like a home world or a planet in my notes, but I was like, I don't even know what it is, but that place looked unbelievable. It was super cool, but you could kind of understand the rules of that world, of how things work and what's going on and what it all looks like. And I loved it. I thought it was gorgeous, but we've come to be spoiled by Discovery. We know it's going to look gorgeous. We know it's going to be amazing. We know no expense is going to be spared, and they're going to make it look the best it can be. So I really liked all of that stuff. I love that they're always trying to come up with a new concept. They're trying to expand our minds and our brains to understand a different kind of place, or a different kind of existence, or a different kind of technology. They're trying to do something new. They're trying to do something bold. And they did that with this episode. And this series was like that. And this season itself was also like that. This was a first season in Star Trek that was basically like a treasure hunt, which was kind of like Indiana Jones meets the future or something like that. Makes a very clear plot line, a very clear story arc that we're following. They're trying to get this thing. We know why. They've got these clues. They're all building in one direction. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I was glad that every episode started with previously on Discovery, because it gave me it reminded me of where I was at, because you do have to kind of know where you're at. If I just turn the episode on, I will be like, what the hell did I last see?
And just to jump in, it's really helpful because sometimes they'll show you something that happened in episode 2. Because if that thing in episode 2 is relevant to episode 8, then in episode 8, they need to say, hey, by the way, we're bringing you up to speed on that, because we know you're remembering episode 7, but you may not remember every detail from episode 2. And so, yeah, I agree. That's great stuff. I love that they did that for us.
Like for example, when they brought up Saru's kiss with Tarina in the opener, and they were like, "So I guess we have to consummate our relationship," and I was like, "Oh, so we're going back to that." Remember, like, so I was like, "Okay, so this is gonna have a Saru Tarina moment in it because they're reminding it because that kiss thing happened maybe 6 episodes ago. You know what I
Mm.
mean?" And they brought it back as a reference point. I can tell you also that I was surprised that we didn't get any deaths. I was almost guaranteed to expect the death in this episode. I felt like Lieutenant Nan and Saru were going on a suicide mission. So
Ah,
yeah, I felt like it was
suicide.
coming. I felt like it was coming. I didn't get it. I felt like
Mm.
Book at one moment was about to, get find him and Culber were about to get, find themselves getting killed at the end of this. That didn't happen either. So there was a lot of kind of things that I was expecting and didn't happen. I thought the progenitors technology would be able to bring Locke back to
I
life and
know.
maybe even yeah, and maybe even one of these other characters that I expected to die, right? So let's say
Mhm.
Book and Culber dies on the way to get them. She gets the progenitor technology, she locks in, she becomes this AI god, and she's able to bring Locke back to life and bring Book back to life and rewind time back to the whatever moment she wants to bring back time or whatever. Because this is like some serious supposedly technology we're dealing with, like some god power, omnipotent stuff. So I expected a lot of different things to happen, and I actually didn't get any of those things.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, I'll bet you, I could be way off on this. Maybe I shouldn't bet, but this season and that final episode would have been written very differently had they known it was the final season and a final episode. So they probably weren't planning on killing anybody off because they think there's going to be a season six, or they're hoping there's going to be a season six and a season seven. Had they known this was the final season, this was the final episode, they may have been more willing to kill off characters. You know what I mean? So it really does them a disservice, it really does a show a disservice when you don't know if it's your final season, because then you can't close that book. No pun intended. Deep Space Nine knew this is your final season, this is your final episode. That's why the final episode's beautiful. Same thing, Next Generation. They knew. Same thing with Voyager. They knew. Enterprise knew, although they kind of, who knows. But with Discovery, they didn't know. But luckily, the studio allowed them to come back and do some additional shots, some additional scenes, which we saw at the end there. So they were able to kind of close out Michael Burnham and Booker's story at the end there, which kind of gave us something nice to work with. But yeah, I do wonder if they had known if this was the final season, I wonder if they would have killed off some characters.
Yeah, I would have either killed off some characters and then brought them back with the technology, or
Yeah.
I would have had it to a point where it's like the technology is like a genie and you can only get one wish. And and then Burnham is in a position in which she has to figure out what that one wish is going to be, right? Um, she made promises to bring Locke back and all this other stuff, but maybe that wish would be to bring back Book's entire home world, which was destroyed, right?
Wei
Or
Zhan.
so, yeah, to bring back Weijan, maybe, right? And so she
Hmm.
said, "This is my gift to you, Book." And maybe that ends changes their dynamic in their relationship because Book now has Quajon back. He wants to be there with his family and watch, or with his people, and he might separate from Burnham at the end, and it wouldn't be them kind of getting old together. It would be them saying goodbye to each other because you know I gotta be in Quajon, and I know that I can't ask you to give up all of this for me to live there. So it could have been like a dramatic goodbye moment instead of the kind of Huxtable ending. I called it the Huxtable ending that they gave us, So I could have, there was ways to go in different directions in a lot of things. And my mind was racing, like, how are
Yeah.
they going to wrap this up? You know what I mean? Um, so there were several things I was kind of disappointed. I was disappointed that Maul went through all that and didn't get
I
any kind
know.
of redemption or any reward on that. There's zero. It's just like,
Yeah, but you know what's cool about that is that's life. As Captain Picard say, it is possible to make no mistakes and still lose. That's not failure, that's life. So, I mean, you don't always get that storybook ending. I expected, just like you did, I expected Locke to be revived and for them to go on their merry way and all of us be like, yes, we did it. Didn't happen. And Discovery's like, hey, that's what happens in life sometimes. You don't get everything you want. Sorry, bro. And so that was a bold choice.
yeah. Uh, Again, here I am, right, playing the writer and stuff. I felt like that Maul had given a lot up to that point, that she was essentially on. And that's another character could have died. It didn't even have to be one of our main. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have to be one of the main Discovery cast or
Hmm.
crew. It could have been Maul, who was the guest villain essentially for this entire last season. They already killed Locke, so they were introduced at the same time. So we've already kind of said goodbye to half of the team. Um, they wanted to keep Maul around, I guess, for some reason or another, because I felt like that could have also been like a disposable type character, right? Like Maul could have said, "No, I'm not giving up. I'm not leaving with you, Burnham. I'm not just going to walk away. I've committed myself to bringing back Locke. I don't believe you. I don't trust you.
Hmm.
I got to see for myself." And maybe Burnham says, "It'll kill you. It'll destroy. You'll die if you try it again."
And she tries to do it anyway. Yeah,
And she tries to do it anyway. And then boom, there it is. She goes out because there's the Romeo Juliet story that
totally.
you get a little bit of that with Maul. She gets to go out like like Romeo in that moment. And so I felt like there could have been a bigger payoff. Everybody surviving was too much for me.
You're
That's
so
all I'm saying.
bloodthirsty.
I
Well,
am. I am a little bit.
well, here's
A little
something
bit.
with Maul. It sounded like they were planning on having her back in season 6 or 7 because
Yeah.
Kovic said, he's got plans for Maul. So she's going to be
Yeah.
some kind of agent, maybe she'll be in the Section 31 movie, or maybe there's going to be something there. Now, the other thing
That's
is we got a
possible.
very big reveal with Kovic. I gotta edit
Bless you.
that. I was like fighting. I'm like, uh, uh. Try that again.
uh,
Whew. My air conditioner
Perfect.
just blew in my face. And anyway, take two. What if I forget to cut that out? Take two. All right. Uh, we also got a very big reveal with Kovic because he said his real name was Daniels and he was on the Enterprise. Now, Star Trek fans know Daniels as the guy from the Scott Bakula Enterprise, not even Kirk and Spock, not Pike, not Picard, but the first Enterprise. And Daniels was a temporal agent from like the 31st century or something like that. So that totally works because I think these guys are in the 32nd century in Discovery. That's why he's older now. So he was like this temporal agent that would just kind of pop in on Archer, played by Scott Bakula, kind of the same way like Q does with Picard, but in a much less antagonistic way. So that was a huge reveal. The one big reveal was the short treks reveal. The other big reveal was the Enterprise reveal. Let me see if I can pull that guy up. Here he is.
Hmm.
So he was originally just some crewman on Enterprise, but then he turned out to be a temporal agent. Daniel's operative from the 31st century, a major player in the temporal Cold War. He had frequent interaction. It's kind of like Section 31, but for time travel. So that was this guy. What is that? Species human, more or less. Anyway, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah. That character always kind of like confused me because he's always dressed in regular clothes with glasses on and stuff. So every time I see it, it's like I'm at Vic's bar. I'm thinking of a hollow suite program that's dated. Um, so that's just my initial reaction when I see him.
We also got to see it.
But I was going to mention that you were mentioning Easter eggs. The big Easter eggs were put right in front of our face to me, and I was the bottle of Chateau Picard, the Geordie's visor,
and
the home run of the day.
No, and the baseball, yeah.
No, I know. No,
That's funny. Yeah, that was so cool. That was cool. Because I paused it, but I was like, I'm sure that says Chateau Picard. Let me just check to verify. And then, of course, it did. And Geordie's visor, very recognizable. Baseball, very cool. So that was fun. I definitely thought of you there.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I felt that was a good little subtle nod, to Sisko in that. Really just a nice little touch.
I also thought of you at the wedding with T'Rina and Saru because their outfits were phenomenal. Again, their outfits, they somehow make Saru look just unbelievably like elegant, not that he isn't, but what he's wearing is elegant and classical and futuristic all at once. And T'Rina, what she was wearing was gorgeous as well. Big shout out to the wardrobe department for that. Did you enjoy the wedding, Cirroc?
Yeah, I enjoyed the wedding. Yeah, I enjoyed the wedding. I, I'm still like one of those happily ever after kind of guys is a little bit too much for me. So I like a little bit of mystery drama, like I don't know what happened or something.
You want a wedding and a funeral. What about like I really liked at the end there, clearly the part that they had added on later when Michael Burnham was like remembering all the people around her. Kind of had like that Deep Space Nine moment or feel that montage, that unbelievable tear-jerky montage for Deep Space Nine. Discovery had their own, where they were all just kind of hanging out and shaking hands and hugging and laughing. It was a beautiful moment. I knew what they were trying to do. It was, you got to do it. They had their own spin on it. And I thought it was gorgeous. It was beautiful to watch. It was nice to see their beautiful faces smiling and laughing and being together again. And she was remembering it, from years into the future. Did you cry, Cirroc, is the question.
No, I didn't cry. I did like the montage, though. I liked seeing the kind of goodbyes. Tilly gave a nice little hug there. I like those moments because it was kind of a goodbye moment. I'm not so sure I was thrilled with, like I said, the book in Burnham aged with the kid thing. I just felt like they didn't need that aspect of it. We could have just left it to the imagination how their future would end up together, right? And I didn't need to see the kid and Book and them and living in the house and all that stuff. I didn't need to see that. That could have been just all assumed, that they end up being together and living a great life together because they told each other they love they love each other essentially. I like that moment. Um, and I could have just ended it with the wedding and the goodbye stuff on the ship, and maybe even like saying goodbye to the ship itself with Zora,
Yeah.
you know. But the whole aged book and the whole gray-haired Burnham, it was like trying to squeeze the visitor into the last 10 minutes
Ooh.
of this episode.
I would have liked to
It
have
was
seen a moment for each of the crew. Like just seeing now obviously again, they're super hindered because suddenly their show is canceled and the studios are saying, all right, you can have 2 days. We'll give you 2 shoot days. So it's like really condensed what they can do. So I know this would have been impossible, but I would have loved to see 30 seconds on each person. I would like to see Tilly landing a shuttlecraft and walking onto Starfleet Academy. I would like to see Saru and Tarina visiting Vulcan or Navarre, what it's called now, or going off on some crazy mission, you know. I would have liked to see, Detmer getting on a freighter ship and just flying off and being like, woo, now I'm a person that flies freighters. I want to see Rayner, going like, I'm gonna, or something. I don't know. Or somebody get promoted to captain or somebody get promoted to lieutenant. Yeah, just each one of them get their moments. Now, obviously, we can't do that because they got 2 shoot days. They got to just basically do a couple scenes with a couple people. So that's all we had to work with. But it would have been nice. It would have been nice.
to see Non put her breathing instrument back in.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss you.
Aw.
Uh,
It's great to see Non
uh,
again.
it was good. Um, and I would have liked to see like some kind of moments here and there, but you know, um, the whole show has been kind of those moments a little bit to me. The whole show has been a bunch of those, special little tiny moments, those goodbye moments or those heart to heart moments. They've gotten their share of it in. Um, I liked Saru being a little bit tough with the brain, look into my eyes and tell me if you see. That was a great moment right there.
I'll tell you why I thought of you on that moment. Because when he said, look into my eyes, and I promise you, you will not see one shred of doubt or something of that nature.
Mhm.
We all went
Yeah,
and looked
we
and we're
did.
like, nah, he's
Nope.
right. No doubt. All right. I was like, Doug Jones just acted the
Yeah.
out of that because
Yes.
he said, everybody in the world, millions of people watching this, look directly in my eyes and test my acting skill, basically, is what that line really
Yeah.
was.
See if I break. See if I break.
Yeah.
If I
See
break
if
my
you can
focus.
notice anything, outside of,
Any
yeah,
tell that I'm weak.
or break in character or whatever. And he nailed it. I mean, because we all, and I'm like, I bet you Cirroc leaned into, we all just can't help it. We did look into his
Can't help
eyes,
it.
and A+ to Doug Jones because, yeah, he did it. Good for him.
He did it because I literally leaned in. I was like, let's see if this guy is weak or not. And sure enough, he's like, yep. He had those snake eyes or whatever you want to call it, like just like it's like poker face. He had his poker face. He put on his poker face, and it was believable.
I would have loved.
Had we seen the progenitors before?
Yeah, well, we saw them just in that one episode in Star Trek: The Next Generation, The Chase. We have not gotten to that in our rewatch. We're in the third season. The Chase is later on, but that's where they were introduced in that one episode, and never
Okay.
again after that until now. But it was cool. It was good to see them again. So that was fun. That was cool. There was also the funny moment when Tilly says, whatever it was, Rayner asked her, can we do this? Oh, can we jump the dreadnought out of here? And she goes, oh, no, 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 absolutely not. Well, maybe or something, that funny. That's funny on the
Great
page,
delivery. I
and
wrote the
it's well
same thing.
delivered. Yeah, that's good.
I, I thought it was great. I wrote the same thing when she says, absolutely, absolutely not. She doubled down on it like,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
And then Stamets did the same thing. He's like, "What? No, that's crazy. There's no way." Well, maybe, and that feels like how scientists or
That's Star Trek.
engineers work, because they're
It's
like,
also
no,
Star
no, no,
Trek.
no. But then they can't help. Yeah, they can't help but start thinking and theorizing of how could we theoretically do it?
That's
Is
Star
it
Trek to
possible?
me.
Yeah, totally.
That goes back to Next Generation, and uh, I need more power. Captain, I'd have to divert the deflector shields and re-rate to the main. It's like it will only have a 1% chance. It's like, well, just do it then, damn it.
Yeah,
It's like,
that was really good. That's really good. Good scene.
but yeah, that's basically what you get on Star Trek, and I felt like that was another great little moment there, just to see that. What happened to Owosicon? Did I miss that? I thought I was going to
Yeah,
see her in
she
this.
and Detmer were pretty much gone after the first couple episodes of this season. I don't know why. They were replaced with like Gallo and Asha and maybe a couple others, and then the last couple episodes with Lieutenant Jemison. So I don't know in the real world why they weren't there. Obviously, there's a reason. They
Right.
explained it in universe, saying, "Oh, Owashikun and Detmer." Michael Burnham said something about they're on a mission. They're taking this ship somewhere. So they were mentioned so that we knew
Okay.
in universe what they were doing, and they did show up at the very end. We did see them at the very end there when Michael Burnham was having her montage moment. But yeah, I don't know why. I am curious to know what happened to them in the real world.
Yeah, me too. Reese made it though. He stayed. He stuck around.
And Bryce came back.
Uh, Bryce came back. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Linus was
Um,
always there. Oh, we didn't
yeah.
see
So
Nilsson. I don't think we saw Nilsson in that final thing. She was the blonde lady.
yeah, I don't remember. I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah. Tilly and the Starfleet. I wonder if she's going to be part of the Starfleet program, or
Oh,
if they're
there's
going to try to spin off.
absolutely. She can be like the lead.
She
Uh,
has to be, right?
but that's Lieutenant Nilsson, Sarah Middich, the lady that
Mm-hmm.
originally played Arium. I don't think I saw her in that montage. But yeah, so Tilly is definitely going to be in Starfleet Academy. Um, some of the other characters are going to do like cameos, probably, or guest stars or something like that. I don't know who or which episodes, but that's almost certainty.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Cirroc Lofton. What do you think Star Trek Discovery's legacy will be?
Mm, one, it'll be the Star Trek that brought Star Trek back. So that's going to be one of the main things. Discovery is the reason why we have the other shows like Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. The other shows that we've liked over the course of these last, I guess, 7 years now. Let's just say. But and also the next batch of shows that are coming out. Who knows what those will be, including the Academy or whatever else is slated for
Yeah.
coming out in the future. So um, that to me is going to be one of the big things of Discovery's legacy. Number one, it kicked off the Paramount Plus
Yep.
platform. It was the flagship show for that platform. Or CBS. It started out at CBS All Access in the
Right.
beginning, and then became Paramount Plus. But essentially, the platform was launched with Discovery as the flagship show. So it accomplished the mission of launching this platform of Paramount Plus, which is what we know today. And that was a success. Also the subsequent shows that followed on the heels of this show kind of paving the way. So those are the great things, that we can always tip our hat to Discovery and say, thanks to you, um, the interest in Star Trek was revised and revitalized.
Hmm.
And I think that'll be the biggest thing that Sonequa and the cast of Discovery are going to be known for.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And everybody we've met from Star Trek Discovery, be it a writer, a director, an actor, not Elias Tufexis, but like anybody. Now we loved him. He was great too. Everybody we've met from the show has been so nice, so talented, so good at what they do, so gracious and fun to be around. So,
Yeah.
I just want to give a big thank you to all those people that, really put their heart and soul into this. They did, as you say, they relaunched Star Trek. They launched a platform, CBS All Access, which became Paramount Plus, kind of like when Voyager launched a network in UPN. But what they accomplished and what they did and what was put on their shoulders was gigantic. Basically, they said, all right, it's 2017, and we're going to relaunch Star Trek in a big way, not just a series. They weren't planning on just doing a series. They were saying, we are starting over. We're redoing this whole thing. We're going to have the glory years all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a bunch of spinoffs. They had short treks. They had Strange New Worlds, from that. And it influenced other shows. Section 31 is a spinoff of that. Starfleet Academy will be a spinoff of that. So, it was the longest running show. It was in our lives longer than any other Star Trek show. It had arguably the most pressure to succeed of any Star Trek show. Arguably, I don't really know what it was like for the other shows, but it's just important to realize what they did and what they accomplished and what was put on their shoulders. And I don't know. I don't really know how to find the words to close out this series because it didn't feel like it was going to close. It felt like they were going to get a couple more seasons. And
Yeah.
now that it's over and they just tacked on, 15 minutes of feel good television for us, which was nice and which was cool, but it still didn't quite give us what we hoped we would have gotten because they never knew that it was going to be the final season. So that's kind of a bummer, but they definitely gave us a lot of good characters, a lot of fun stories, and amazing visuals and music. Cool shirt too.
Yeah. They also gave us some very great actors that have come out of this show. I really like Mary Chieffo, Kenneth Mitchell, you know,
Our
these kinds of
guy.
people
Yeah.
that came out of this show. Um, and it seems so far long ago, because this show has had many things take place since the beginning opening days of the pilot when they were Klingon. Wasn't it was really Klingon heavy in the
Yeah.
beginning of the
Right.
show. And we weren't sure, there was no way of predicting how the show would eventually um, unfold over this 5 seasons now that it's been unfolding. Like they went back in time, like forward in time, and like it's like many different, like Spock was a theme, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
of one, so like they've given us a lot of things to chew on. So it's hard for me to like summate what exactly resonates the most. And what does resonate the most is the fact that these people, like the friendships and relationships, the love stories, to me is what really kind of like, if I had to put a thing on what the essence of this show is all about, to me it's about love stories. It's about the Saru's love, like finding himself and finding his love, which is, Tarina at the end of the show. It's about the love story between Culber and Stamets, the love story between Book and Burnham, the love story between Book and his people, Quajon and his roots.
Yeah.
There's they ended it on the love story with Maul and Locke as one of the driving, factors. So yeah, when I think of this show, I think of relationships, couples.
It really did do more of that than any other Star Trek show. So that's really cool. And I mean, that's what I think of too. I think of just, I've already mentioned it, but just how much time and skill and money were put into this giant production and how spoiled we were with it with 65 episodes of it. But yeah, a lot more with regard to relationships and found families and things like that. Or situationships with Ash Tyler and Chancellor Laurel, which was kind of fun. Yeah. But we've got a special treat for everybody. We're going to do a free-for-all after this. So you can hear more than just what we have to say about this. But that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do that in a few minutes. Before we do that, though, it's the home run of the episode, Cirroc. One final time.
Yeah, final home run. I believe that the person who deserved the final home run for this episode is Sonequa Martin Green, carrying the show, captain. Wonderful actor. I love watching her perform. I look forward to seeing her in other projects in the future, just playing other characters, because I believe her acting skills are super dynamic and she's capable of conveying any type of emotion and hitting the notes that you want. I hope I see her maintain and continue to be a lead actor in the business. That's my wish for her. But yeah, she carried the show on her shoulders. She carried Star Trek as a franchise. It's a lot of pressure trying to carry an entire franchise that has this kind of fan base and this kind of history and, a plethora of fact checkers, and double checkers. And no, that's not right. And that's got to be authentic.
Oh, yeah.
So having to step into that and carry the weight of this show, sometimes I felt the scripts, she made even bad scripts into good episodes, just because her performances are that great. She can clearly cry on cue. She plays such a wonderful kind of compassionate leader that you feel like is a good person. She had an opportunity to kill Maul in this episode and didn't. She even forgave her for all the stuff that she had done to her. I just think she has a big heart and she's been lovable. So my home run for this series is going to be for Sonequa Martin Green.
Yeah, for the series for sure. I'm going to tighten up the screws a bit on myself and say for this particular episode, for that one scene, Doug Jones gets it for me because of the eyes. I feel like that was the most impressive few seconds of this episode. So I want to give it to him. Sonequa, for the series, no doubt, she was the number one on the call sheet. She carried this show. She carried a network. She did it with grace. She did it with style. She did it with compassion. All of her interviews, she's wonderful. Everybody that talks about her has nothing but scintillating things to say about her. I mean, that's a true number one. So big, huge thanks to her for everything she's done and for embracing the community in a big way. So, absolutely. But let's also say thank you to a few other people whose names are, here they are. You look like you're about to sneeze, Cirroc, a minute ago. Everybody at home, I sneezed so hard. I got allergies. I sneezed so hard, but we cut that out. But then when I saw Cirroc, I was like, is he going to sneeze too? Hey, it's May, whatever. All right. So Very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Titus Mohler, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anil O. Polat, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Goo, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, My Life from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, the Dark Lord, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allyson Leach-Heid, Julie Manisfee, Greg K. Wickstrom out in Hawaii, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Chuck A., Johanna Yunker, Amiram Mizne, Ed Jarrett, Steve Case, a.k.a. Joe Bugbuster, and of course, Jason M. Okun. All right, everybody, we got a lot more to talk about on the free-for-all as we say goodbye to Star Trek Discovery and give it the love it deserves. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
This is the free-for-all to close out Discovery. We're all very sad, but we do love Discovery. This is the Discovery finale free-for-all with Melissa Longo.
Hi.
And of course, my t-shirt bestie, Allyson Leach-Heid. She knows what time it is. It's time for disco. TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. Cool shirt, Abyssinian Kiosk, the Sisko Kid. Also, Steve Case, a.k.a. Joe Bugbuster, is here. Thank goodness for that. We've got Carrie Schwent, #1 Cubbies fan. And Faith Howell is here. Thank goodness. But then Galdu Scott Jensen is also here. So everybody be careful. Be careful. All right, you guys, since we're closing out the series, how fun is this? I've got the totals on non-appearance mentions for Disco.
Fun.
They may surprise you.
All right.
Yeah.
Here's a hint. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-way tie for first place on this.
Wow.
An 8-way tie for first place. Can anybody name them all?
Oh.
I don't know.
I bet
Take some
Spock
guesses.
is one of them.
One of them.
Spock is one.
Right.
Lorca.
Lorca is one. Wow, you guys are really good at
Good
this.
one.
Sarek.
No.
Giorgio.
Hey, Jojo. No Sarek.
Grudge.
No.
Ooh.
Leah Brahms.
No.
Kirk.
No.
Admiral Vance.
Yes, Admiral
Yeah,
Vance.
Vance is
And by the way, this is
Wow.
an 8-way tie with just 2. They didn't do a lot of non-appearance mentions. They did a lot, but not the same person. I'll just tell you the rest. So tied with 2, Lorca, Picard, Spock, Dr. Pollard, Admiral Vance, Gray, Locke, and Janal. And then with 1, we've got Nog, Dr. Noonien Soong, Archer, Janeway, T'Pau, Linus, Tarka, Xi, Aurelio, Su'Kal, Reno, Jet Reno, that is, Grudge, Alton Soong. Oh, wait, no. We've got Reno twice here, so she's also tied. What, man, what excitement. So 2 for Reno, Tarina, Detmer, Owoshikun, Velik, Nilsson, Molly, Maul. Was there really a Molly? Not apparent. That's nuts. Commander Landry and Osira. All right. That's what we got.
Wow.
Lots of fun ones. Melissa Longo, can you please get us started off on the right track? What did you think of this episode?
Lots of emotions happened. I was fortunate enough to watch it in the theater yesterday, and there were a few moments that got me a little bit choked up, and I will let you know which ones those are. The first one was when the progenitor touched Michael Burnham's head, and all of the universe flashed on the screen, and the creation of everything. It's just, yeah, it got me, because those kinds of things always get me, because I think this universe is incredible, and the vastness and the infiniteness of it is just mind-blowing and extraordinary. So anytime anybody touches on that kind of thing, it gets me. The second moment was when Sisko's ball pops up on the screen. I didn't expect, one, to see it, and then two, I didn't expect to get so choked up by it. But it did. It hit me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because Sisko, he doesn't get mentioned nearly as enough, and he just deserves so much respect and so much. I don't know. All of the other stuff, the Chateau Picard, Geordie's visor, that was all fun, but we get a lot of them often. We don't get a lot of Sisko references that often. And so that moment was very poignant for me. And then the third one was when the final hug between Saru and Burnham, just because I love that relationship. I love that moment. My favorite line in the episode came from Culber when he was on the shuttle, which was number 47, by the way.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you noticed.
No.
It was number 47. But when he says, "I'm a doctor, not a physicist."
Yeah.
So that was really great. There was a lot of emotional moments, a lot of good moments. There were, yeah, it was a journey, and it was great to experience all of that with people sitting around you and experiencing that at the same time. So, yeah. And these two are just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Their outfits were just beautiful. But what I really appreciated most about this episode is that it didn't try to solve or answer any questions for us, any huge unanswerable questions as to where the universe came from and who started it and who created that spark. It's an open-ended question because it's not anything one human or any human probably will ever solve in their lifetime. So I like that, and I like that was left open. So, yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Melissa Longo, who watched the screening in LA, by the way. Star-studded event last night. Woo-hoo. Looked like you had a blast with our good buddy Mario Lira, right?
Yeah.
From RonBerry.com.
And Darth Shuey.
Heard of him. All right. Thanks very much, Melissa Longo. Allyson Leach-Heid is here, and she's got thoughts. What do you think?
Oh, I hope I have thoughts. I really enjoyed this. I thought how they tied it up, even though this was originally not the actual series finale, just a season finale. I really enjoyed how they tied it up, and they let us see Burnham at not the end of her life, not even the end of her career, but the end of Discovery's story in this timeline before we meet her in the short trek many years later. And I was super impressed with Sonequa in her grace of being just a little bit older. The way she kind of aged her voice, brought on some of her mother's characters' mannerisms. I thought that was very beautifully done. And I really also loved the comfort in the relationship between her and Book at the end. You know, the slight teasing. It was beautiful, and I was really happy that they got to have that and show that. So was it just in our imaginations that it actually happened on screen? That was really my favorite part about watching this episode. it was beautiful. All the when we're in the progenitor's space where all the different access points are is really cool. It was beautiful to see, and all the different worlds and colors was so great. And let's see, I'll probably keep it there. Really, really short for me. I just enjoyed it immensely and will probably watch it so many times that because it made me feel good. And I'm really happy to have a series finale of a show that made me feel really good. So,
Thank you so much for that, Allyson Leach-Heid. Up next is TJ Jackson-Bey, #1 Discovery fan. How are you today, and what did you think of this one?
I love this episode so much. There were so many good points. Some have already been touched on. I know Melissa touched on, the scene with Burnham experiencing, the universe and time and all of that. It really reminded me of a scene in Enterprise, and where there's a character reference there too, and it's tied to the scene. I think it's the end of season 3, it's the end of the first 2 episodes of season 4, which is Stormfront, where, after Archer, is ready to go back, he experiences the passage, of time from like the 20th century up till whenever Enterprise was. That really reminded me and was a nice kind of homage to that scene. But my overall feeling when I started watching this episode is that Star Trek still knows how to make me say wow, because I thought the infinite hallway inspired me with awe and wonder like I haven't experienced since I was a child watching Star Trek and thinking about the vastness of space. And this, infinite hallway, show all these infinite possibilities of infinite worlds and the infinite power of creativity. And it just made me say, wow, to all the possibilities that, we get to experience in life. Another moment that really touched me was, towards the end, and this has been touched on a little bit too, but, in the scene with the older Book and the older Michael and their son, who's named Leto, which is, named after Book's nephew. And that just like when she said his name, because it was a while, like they didn't say his name when he first came in. There were several scenes, and then she calls him Leto, and I'm like, oh, and like I just like in front of the TV, when she said that. A thought I had about this episode and kind of the finality of it is this statement. This sums it up for me. This is not the end of an era. This is the end of the beginning of an era of Star Trek. And that's what Discovery, has done for me, has done for us, is brought Star Trek back to the small screen. And I hope that, it's here to stay for a good long while, because it is my favorite franchise. I'm grateful for all that Discovery has offered. It's given us wonderful characters. It's given us, heartfelt stories. It's given us great character arcs of, people who have grown over time, and we've got to experience that growth with them. I think about Tilly and her arc, Michael's arc, of course. Book, we only had him for 2 seasons, but he has a very nice arc, and many others. So many. Adira Tall, she grew as a character over 2 seasons, as well. Got to meet Captain Pike, and we got a whole series out of that meeting. Yeah. It's just so much. I could go on and on, forever and ever, and as much time as that infinite hallway I could talk about, this episode and this show. I'm so grateful. I'm thankful to all the actors, all the writers, I just want to make sure they know what they did is appreciated. That's all I got to say.
That's a great way to end your segment, TJ. We do appreciate the writers. Thank goodness for them. Give them some love for sure. Speaking of which, we do love Steve Case, aka Joe Bugbuster. What did you think of this episode, season, and finale?
I like this episode. In fact, I'm going to have to watch it at least one more time to catch the Easter eggs and sound bites and admire that portal interior again. That was really great. And the multi-dimensional aspects of it, kind of Rubik Cube-ish, that was great. I've seen all of the treks, and Discovery, I have to admit, was not my favorite trek. But after I struggled through the first season, I did warm up to it. And this episode was a great crescendo as it's revealed more and more. It felt more Trekky. The portal was amazing. And the episode hinted at so many potential spin-offs too. Tilly in a Starfleet Academy spinoff, Agent Daniels in a Section 31 spinoff. Kovich's artifact suggests maybe a TNG Picard Next Generation spinoff that we'd already been suspecting might be coming, thanks to the Picard finale, which was about a year ago. And then watching Burnham and Book walk off to the Infinity Room and then their new home in the future. And that looked an awful lot like a Discovery spinoff. So many of those things to look at. And then at the end, when Burnham kind of whimsically tells Zora, "Let's fly." I've always liked that line. And they depart Starbase with a huge array of ships lined up to wish them well on the next journey, which they teased us about. So I do look forward to seeing what comes next.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Steve Case, aka Joe Bugbuster. Great sentiments. Carrie Schwent is here. What do you got for us, Carrie? What do you think of this one?
I really, really liked it. I thought it worked very well, both as a season finale and the stuff they added onto the end. I thought worked very well to cap off the series. I loved all the little connections, tying up a couple of loose ends. The whole connection to the Enterprise series, I thought was really neat. Oh shoot! I wrote down I just lost my train of thought there. Okay, hold up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the other connection. Tying in the short trek and Calypso, and at least we know for sure how Zora. We know now how Zora and Discovery ended up out there, and I really liked that. One thing Tilly mentioned as sort of an offhand thing at the wedding, the mentorship program. I really like that idea, and I hope we get more of that in the Starfleet Academy series, because that opens up the door for all cameos left, right, and center. You can bring in just about anybody to bring them in as a mentor, and of course, Star Trek the Academy means I get more of my favorite Tilly, because I love Tilly, and I've been a fan of the show from the beginning. I was super excited about it. I found out about Sonequa and I squealed very loudly because I was loving her on The Walking Dead. So I was okay with them killing off her character in an incredibly epic way, because I knew we were going to be seeing her on Discovery. I loved all of it, and I completely 100% buy how they worked in the story for how we didn't know about Discovery's existence and about her existence, because it was all classified. So when Picard was yelling out that stuff when he was mind melded with Cirroc, that's why he didn't say Burnham's name, because he knew it was classified. He knew he couldn't say nothing because nobody was supposed to know about it. Another red directive, as CG just said in the chat. I loved what they did with the Klingons early on. I thought that arc was really cool. Fleshed them out a little bit more, and we got some great actors out of that, which I really, really loved. Burnham and Through hugging there when he grabs her head like that. that's how Doug Jones hugs in real life. That is a legit 100% Doug hug.
Nice.
He envelops you, he grabs your face. He just completely envelops you, and it's just absolutely one of the best things. I loved when she's talking to her son in the shuttle at the end. I loved the way she said about sometimes life itself is meaning enough. Those we choose to spend the time we have, who we spend it with. I love that so much. Joining the seventh rule was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made, because I've gotten to spend so much time with you guys, and I love it. And I decided I didn't have a ton of time being at work and everything, but I did come up with what I'm calling a haiku of farewell to sort of close the book on Discovery. So I'll knock that out here. 5 seasons of tales. On to the next adventure. Live long and prosper.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear. We got Faith Howell. What's up, Faith Howell? You're hanging out in the grass today. What'd you think of this series?
Well, yeah, Discovery has been a weird one for me. Having been a Trekkie my entire life, I was so excited to get new Trek again, and then they put it behind a paywall. And so I was a little bit heartbroken, and I had a hard time interfacing with it for the first 2 seasons. I finally got on board. I finally joined Paramount Plus in, I think, the beginning of season 3. Of course, I caught up pretty quickly. And I've really, it's been a roller coaster. There's been parts that I really, really enjoyed, and parts that, I wish were a bit more. I do think now that we've seen the story to its completion, that it definitely reads to me like Michael Burnham's story. And it is a very good arc for Michael Burnham. I liked that we got to know some of her close friends and, a smattering of other shipmates. I've always want more. I think we will always want more, even for Deep Space Nine, where we did get a really deep dive on a lot of the peripheral characters. You always want more. So there will always be that for me. And I think looking at just this last season, that's sort of the biggest thing for me, is that it was great storytelling for Michael Burnham, but they introduced so many extra characters. I immediately fell in love with the love story of Maul and Locke, and I shipped them hard, and I feel like that piece of the puzzle is missing, and I will leave it here just saying I really, really hope that we do get to see Maul and possibly Locke again in maybe Section 31. That would be a good little segue for me. I would be happy with that. So fingers crossed for the future.
Like how Faith included and maybe Locke. You never know. Hey, Star Trek dead. All right, Goldu Scott Jensen, what is up, Goldu Scott? What did you think of this one?
Oh man, this is to steal a phrase from another show, what a long road it's been. Getting from there to here. Definitely, and we're referencing all with Crewman Daniels absolutely flattened me entirely, because it did bring everything together from the earliest timeline to the latest, which was very cool. Definitely, the character growth, it took a while. There were things, I will say, overall with Discovery that I wasn't 100% on board with at all times, but I think that in a meta standpoint, how important this show was to the community, to the legacy of Trek coming back, to like this literal community here. I remember sitting back and listening to some of Cirroc's early thoughts on Discovery in day one on the seventh rule way back, and listening to super early seventh rule, which I'm super privileged to have gotten to mess around with the audio of myself as well. And this whole community coming together because this little show was starting back up. And Yeah, and not to mention that the Sci-Fi Sisters got to meet each other because of Michael Burnham at cons. All the great things that they're doing with the community and the world because of this, because people got to see themselves in Michael Burnham and Tilly. I was in a completely different place in the beginning of the show, a completely different life, and I know I've gone on in the TMI before, but a lot of stuff has happened in my life in the last 6 years since the show started. And it has helped me develop a bit of an anxiety issue like Cirroc had in the beginning of the show. So to be able to see him finally just piss off, bluff those Breen people and straight look me in the eyes and tell me if I'm afraid, pretty much, and it wasn't there, was a very cathartic feeling in my own as well to see that, and to see, get to see Doug just steal that entire, scene again. Man is amazing. But yeah, I definitely, I was catching a whole lot of that, and I thought it was pretty ironic that any of the haters would have talked about how much people cry too much on the show, and there we all were, like, right there at the end of it, crying ourselves. I'm gonna admit it. Oh, I'm gonna admit it. But yeah, definitely did like this episode, like the show as a whole. Wish there were more. Hopefully, we will see some offshoots.
Yeah, some people have mentioned, I mean, there won't be more Discovery episodes, but we'll get more. We will see these characters again, several of them in different iterations. So that's really cool. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Mr. Gull, to Scott Jensen, who's like an audio wizard, by the way, everybody. All right. Jake's final take. Cirroc, any final thought? Scott kind of called you out there with the early disco talk, but any final thoughts on this episode, this season, and this series?
Yeah, Scott absolutely kind of reminded me of how much time it's been, and, like, where we've come as a group since the beginning of this show, and it's kind of a time marker for our own growth and development. So I think that's a very accurate point. And I was resistant to this show in the beginning, but I have since grown fond of a lot of these characters. And really, I always wonder about where we'll see actors as they move along in their careers. And so that's where my head goes to that space. Like, where am I going to see Sonequa again after this show? Like, what kind of casting will they find for her? And what role will she pop up on? Will I see her on television on a law show or a cop show? Or, will she move on to doing motion pictures? I don't know, but I do think she's fantastic, and a lot of these actors are fantastic, and I expect to see them. I expect to see a lot of these people. David Ayala, Ajala. I expect to see him again. I only imagine that he's going to have his own kind of mini Idris Elba arc to his career. It seems almost inevitable. So yeah, I just want to see these actors grow, perform, get other opportunities to do different work in the future. They've proven themselves as capable of just really nailing the material. And this show did what it was set out to do, which was, basically build out Paramount Plus. And it did that successfully. It also successfully brought Star Trek back into the topic of discussion. So I remember when I first saw people wearing those shirts that you have on, the disco shirts, and I was like, who is misspelling Sisko? I don't get this. But I guess I guess Disco did do their thing. Them all this last season because I'm comfortable with the characters and they have that backstory. I enjoyed this season probably the most. And, you know, my final say is that this is a love story show. It's all about love stories and relationships to me. Um, it's been consistent when it comes to that. And, that's one of the beautiful things about watching the journey of these characters is watching them, their budding loves or them working through their relationships. So that's what I walk away with. And mission accomplished for these guys. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of these other people like Mary Weissman in the future. Who knows where we'll see Doug Jones pop up, because I'm just sure he's going to be somewhere.
He'll be fine. Yeah, he'll be.
He'll
land on his feet.
Fine. Yeah. The kid's got a lot of promise, though. He's got a lot of promise.
The kid.
So yeah. I definitely, they gave us a good show, and I felt like it really honed into what it was about towards the latter seasons. I think in the beginning they were trying to really discover themselves, and so they were trying to feel out a few storylines. But once I think they introduced Book's character, I believe that the show kind of found like its identity to some degree, because of the playoff between Sonequa and Book. I really enjoyed that back and forth there. So that's my final on this show. It's funny because it's been so long, but yet like half the episodes of what we're used to. Even though it's time-wise, it's like the same time as we're used to seeing these shows run out. So you get half the shows, you get twice the budget, if not more, at least production value-wise. It looks amazing. So yeah, they really knocked it out of the park.
All right. That's it for us, everybody. Thank you to Star Trek Discovery and Paramount Plus and CBS and the writers and producers and everybody that gave us something to watch, something to talk about, something to squabble about on the internet. People will be like, what? That's not this. And oh, man, so much fun. But thank you for doing it. It's been a great time and a great ride. That's it for us. Thank you to Scott Jensen, Faith Howell, Carrie Schwent, Steve Case, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Allyson Leach-Heid, and Melissa Longo. For myself, Cirroc, Lofton, Melissa, and the guy they named a class of ships after, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all for hanging out with us. And by the way, Discovery can do no wrong after they did that. Am I right? Come on. That's an A+. A+. See you next time. Till then, always remember the 7th rule.